Alright, man, peace. Brothers, I wanted to do a very quick video in reference to what has recently befell the recently retired all-time great NBA player, Mr. Kevin Garnett, and the fact that he has had to bring a lawsuit against his former accountant slash business manager slash business partner for $77 million, which is approximately half of his career earnings after taxes. It's very obvious to me that Kevin Garnett is in some form of financial straits. Of course, that's based on perspective, because Kevin Garnett being in a financial hardship will probably be a very advantageous monetary situation for the average person. Point being is this: it always amazes me how many of these multi-million-dollar professional athletes, normally black men, find themselves stuck in this situation. And it's obvious to me that it's because we're not teaching our children about money. We're not teaching them about personal finance. We're not teaching them how to be fiduciaries over their own estate. And in the case of a Kevin Garnett, who basically is his own business because he's given a check without having any of the income tax taken out of it, he has to approach it like a business owner. And this is part of the mass media manipulation in regards to how people perceive athletes. They like to report an athlete's career earnings before taxes, and that's very unfair to the athlete in regards to how he's perceived by the masses at large. So we're inundated with the falsehood that Kevin Garnett made $326 million over the course of his career. And that's not true, because that's before taxes. And because we're constantly inundated with that falsehood, he's constantly being asked about it. So he starts to believe that he actually has $326 million coming to him, and he doesn't. For example, if he makes $24 million a year in the NBA, he has to approach it like it's only $12 million, because he has to put away half for taxes. And it's obvious that because he was not trained on how to handle his personal finance, that he did not approach it that way. Or maybe he just didn't want to be bothered. So he put his money in the hands of another man. And that's the point of me making this video. It's not another man's job to watch over your money. It's your job to watch over your money. And I say that not to Kevin Garnett per se. I say that to some of the brothers that are out there listening who might be younger and who might establish their own business in the future. You don't need an accountant, man. All you need is common sense. If you're netting $80,000 a year running your own business, you take $40,000 and you put it in a separate bank account for taxes. Problem solved. From there, you have to know how to budget yourself. Life is about budgeting. That's it. So if Kevin Garnett makes $24 million a year, you take $12 million, you put that in a separate account, you have $12 million to yourself. Then you should take half of that $12 million, which is $6 million, and you put it in a savings. Now you have $6 million to spend for the year. You might take half that, and you might want to distribute that to family and friends as an investor. Send your sister or brother to college. Buy a home for your mother, your father, things like that, which are going to take upkeep from year to year. And then the last $3 million are for you. So you have to budget that $3 million over the course of the year. Problem solved. You don't need an accountant or a money manager to tell you how to handle your money, or at least you shouldn't. But because so many cats are lazy in regards to grasping the importance of money and budgeting, they end up in these very, very bad situations. But once again, if you're running your own business, you should automatically take 50% of your revenue and set it aside for taxes. That's how you create your own income tax return. And at the end of the day, once again, $24 million for Kevin Garnett is really more like $3 or $4 million if he's handling his money properly. And I'm pretty sure that he most likely was not, because this same person who was Kevin Garnett's former accountant also caught Tim Duncan. So many of these guys are just lazy brained, and it's very unfortunate. So I'm going to let them talk about it. Of course, I'm going to chime in.
The number is huge, $77 million. Kevin Garnett, like you mentioned, suing his accountant, Michael Wertheim, saying he allowed a wealth manager named Charles Banks to steal money from Garnett's accounts. Banks also partnered with Garnett on some business deals, but Banks has already been sentenced to 4 years in federal prison for defrauding another NBA legend, Tim Duncan. The lawsuit claims Wertheim knew about the money being stolen from Garnett's accounts, but he didn't stop it, he didn't inform Garnett, and he actually helped conceal the theft. Some of the stolen money was allegedly used for a lot of Robert Frank's fun projects, fancy vacations.
Now, brothers, did you hear that? What they do is they take money from a lot of these professional athletes and they use it to invest in their own ventures or to go on vacation with these athletes' money with a promise to the athlete that, oh, don't worry about your money. I have it stored in an investment account where it can accrue. That's how they trick a lot of these guys. It's basically the same things that the banks do. When you go and you open an account at the bank, they take your money and they lend it out to people who want to open up businesses or apply for a mortgage. Banks just don't store your money. They take your money and they try to flip it over. That's part of their mortgage scam. They take the money that you give them when you open an account, they lend it out to prospective lenders, and then they hope that the lender will default on the loan so that they can take back the land, the house, what have you, put it back on the market and sell it for a profit. If everyone were to try to go to the bank to take all their money out at the same time, the bank would not be able to give you back all your money because they're investing your money. I'm going to say it again. They're investing your money for their own gain. So hypothetically speaking, all banks are insolvent by nature. Okay? But that's the scam that they're running. But just to get back to the point, there's no reason why an athlete who's making all that money should have to give any of his money over to another person. But they prey on them because they know that a lot of these brothers never taught anything growing up. They never taught about money. And it's a very, very easy thing to understand, especially when you're making as much money as Kevin Garnett. But the problem is that these guys get their first check and they have all these family members and so-called friends and hangers-on asking them for money and for a loan for this and for that. And these guys don't know how to tell them no. Because if they do, a lot of their family might turn against them. Their so-called friends might turn against them, might set them up to be robbed, might try to set their family members up to be robbed or kidnapped to try to extort them. Things of that nature happen to many of these top athletes, especially when they first get into the pros. So they're put under a lot of stress and strain that oftentimes puts them in the position to spend their money very, very poorly. And it's extremely unfortunate. But that's a basic formula that I always use when it comes to money. When you're Kevin Garnett, you take half your money, you put half away for taxes, then you take half of that and put it away for savings, and then you might want to invest half of what's left in family and friends or what have you. But the main thing that people have to know is how to use the word no to people. A very, very important word. That's how you maintain your sanity, is by knowing when and where to use the word no.
Expensive wine and private jet trips. Garnett is the all-time leader in NBA salaries, making $326 million in 21 seasons.
See, this is how they try to embarrass them. They list how much money they made before taxes so that it looks even worse. In reality, he made somewhere around $160 million after taxes. So this person took $77 million from him from right under his nose. So I'm sure that he feels foolish. And then beyond that, his wife recently filed for divorce. So I'm sure that he's trying to figure out where every penny and nickel is because he's going to have to give her half. Once again, I have no idea why these pro athletes get married. It makes no sense whatsoever. She's not going anywhere. Believe me, she's going nowhere. You might as well just keep her in whatever status that she is. And for God's sakes, don't get her pregnant. You have to do the Derek Jeter thing. Wait until you retire to get the woman pregnant. Then you can focus all your energies on her and the children. Instead, these guys get women pregnant at 22, 23 years old. They're running all across the professional league. They're having sex with 15, 20 different women. 3 or 4 of them get pregnant. The main woman finds out, and now she wants to bring chaos into his life because she knows she has the power to do so. So it's just a very, very messed up situation for Kevin Garnett, as well as Tim Duncan, who was able to keep his name out of it until this report. But there's never any reason to entrust another man with your money. Now, you can pay a man to consult you and give you some tips on what to invest in, things of that nature. But why would you want to hand over all your money to another man and entrust that man? That's ridiculous.
He retired 2 years ago, but $77 million, that would be nearly half his after-tax income. Garnett's lawyer told CNBC he is confident the matter will be resolved in their favor. I talked to a couple of top sports executives like Mark Gannis. He tells me often these problems get discovered once players retire and their incomes stop coming in. And Jordan Waxman, a wealth manager for many top athletes, said this is just the latest example, and it highlights the need for well-vetted fiduciaries.
Not just well-vetted fiduciaries. Many of these so-called accountants are brothers in arms with scam artists. They already know how they're going to run the scam. They'll tell a KG or a Tim Duncan, look, I know this guy here. He does great work. I'm going to take this amount of money from your account. I'm going to send it over to him, and he's going to flip it. Most of these dudes are making so much money hand over foot just from the NBA and maybe their endorsements that they don't even care what this person is doing with their money, and that person is counting on the fact that the athlete is not going to care what's happening with the $2 or $3 million or so here and there. But that money adds up over the course of 15 years. If you're handing over $5 million to someone every year for 12 years to say, just invest this, that's $60 million gone. So once again, there's never ever a reason for you to hand over all of your funds to another person. Makes no sense.
So he goes and he tries to sue and reclaim this money. Is there any money there to reclaim?
Probably not, but I think part of this is to set an example for the rest of the athletes to see what's there. Maybe he can get $5 million.
No, it's not to set an example for the rest of the athletes. It's to see what pennies, nickels, and dimes he can gather from every source so that he can pay off his ex-wife. That's what this is about. So this brother Kevin Garnett really set himself up on a multitude of levels. It's very unfortunate, but as I stated, just to look at things from his perspective, many of these cats are coming from very disenfranchised environments. They never really taught anything growing up, and they learn things the hard way about white-collar crime. They know about crime on their strata. Dudes trying to stick you up, kidnappings, murders, etc. But when they get to the professional sports world, now they're dealing with white-collar criminals, embezzlement, money laundering, things of that nature that they're not quite familiar with. That's why it's so important to take the understanding of your money and your estate extremely seriously. Extremely seriously. You have to look at yourself as a financial asset. And once again, you have to know how to tell people no. You have to know how to tell people no. Because if you don't, people will suck you dry and look at you on the ground when you're there just like a raisin and not give a fuck about you. They'll look at you and say, what happened to all your money? Knowing damn well they contributed to taking half of it or most of it or all of it even. So it is what it is.
Back, but he's not getting 50 back. I'm assuming that's been spent on stuff. So it's kind of a sad story.
Well, it's a sad story, but it's something that we can change. Hopefully we can controvert by brothers training their sons on what to do with their money. Especially, once again, let's say Kevin Garnett came into the NBA, even making just $800,000 that season as a rookie, hypothetically speaking. $400,000 you put away for taxes. The other $400,000 that you have left, you take $200,000, you put it in savings. Now you have $200,000 left. You tell your family or whoever else that you want to invest in that you can afford to give them $50,000 for the year liberally. That's how you have to think. That's how you have to think. And if they don't accept that, oh well. Maybe $100K. Maybe you could put down money on a home for your parents or for your immediate family. But you have to move in baby steps, man. You can't try to act like you're Santa Claus. But it is what it is. Peace.